Hello, my lovely people. Welcome to Linda's TV show, the home of news. If it is your first time of coming across this platform and you like what we are doing, kindly subscribe, put on your notification bell to all notification. This will enable you to know when we upload a new video. Here, we react to all forms of videos, local, international, especially what is happening in Nigeria. We'll bring the news undiluted. So turn on your notification bell. I put a disclaimer here. We do not promote misleading information. We do not promote violence. We do not promote war. We do not promote anything evil. We are just here to inform and educate the members of the public about what is happening across the globe. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching Linda's TV show as we hop into today's video.
It started at the time that an American comedian and journalist, Bill Maher, raised the alarm.
You don't know what's going on in Nigeria. Your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. And again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
Over 100,000 Christians have been killed since 2009, and nobody's paying attention to that. And everybody's focused on Gaza, 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 Gaza. And when that happened, everybody, almost all over the world, people began to talk about the Christian genocide that is taking place in Nigeria, which up until that time has been so underreported in the Nigerian media for very obvious reasons. So when that went around, senators in the United States of America began to speak up. Ted Cruz actually literally carried it on his head and made it a personal duty to make sure that Nigeria is disciplined. And what he meant by discipline is that Nigeria is designated again, because during the first term of President Donald Trump, Nigeria was also designated for the same reason. And I remember that when Buhari was interviewed, Buhari basically confessed. You can look it up in the media. He confessed that Donald Trump looked him in the face and asked him, "Why are you killing Nigerian Christians?" So this is not the first time the talk about designating Nigeria over religious persecution against Christians has been brought up. But this time around, the outrage, the outcry has been far more widespread than even before. And so when that happened, you would expect that the Nigerian government would basically come out and explain to the global community, this is what we are doing. This is the efforts we have made. This is what we have put in place to make sure that this thing is addressed. But no, what we saw from the Nigerian government was unbelievable amount of defensive mechanisms. They began to send all their guys, all those paid e-minions, like I call them, all of them began to attack anyone who spoke up in favor of the senators from America who are saying that Christians have been genocidally eliminated in Nigeria. So anybody who spoke against this genocide, they will attack you online, which basically explains why many churches and pastors and preachers and GOs are not joining the outcry and the campaign that is gaining so much momentum on the international scene. Now, in a bid to actually deflect from what is happening on ground, the Nigerian government made a move that would eventually undo them. That move was that they used one of their agents working through the office of the National Security Advisor to go and invite people from the United States of America into Nigeria so they can come on a fact-finding mission. Because they wanted people who would come in and say, oh, guys, we have gone around the whole country. We've spoken to the Muslims, we've spoken to Christians, we've spoken to politicians and everybody. We can tell you that there is nothing like Christian genocide in Nigeria. Everybody gets killed. They kill Muslims, they kill Christians. Nobody has ever said that they don't kill Muslims. But we are saying that Christians are predominantly being eliminated, and it is very systematic, and it fits every description in the books for genocide. And this has been going on for such a long time. Unfortunately for them, the people they brought to come and make their case for them ended up making our case for us.
We have here some Americans on a fact-finding mission, and I'll introduce them. This is Mayor Mike Arnold, Republican elected mayor of the city of Blanco in Texas. And this is Jeff Gibbs, filmmaker, prominent filmmaker from the US. And beside me, I have the Secretary General of Jamaatul Nasrul Islam. You might be wondering why is Khan not here? We did meet with Khan. The fact finders met with Khan before they met with GNI, and that it was important to me. Before they came here, the fact finders actually briefed Senator Ted Cruz and Congressman Chip Roy, and when they go back, they will be taking the truth to the American policymakers. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Mayor Mike Arnold, who's going to address you on their findings so far.
That is the character that all of you know already, who is basically representing the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in this whole matter. He it was who invited these guys. But I want you to look on the screen. You can see the body language of Mike Arnold when he was saying a few things that Mike Arnold probably didn't agree with. Mike Arnold was very uncomfortable, which means the guy is lying about something, and you're going to find that out in the next clip, because Mike Arnold is about to address that.
I do want to give a clarification on a couple things. We've been a little bit rushed. I'm Mayor Mike Arnold, like Goodluck Jonathan is President Goodluck Jonathan. I completed my term a few months ago. I'm not the current seated mayor of the city of Blanco. I just didn't want any misunderstanding there. I am not a personal friend of Ted Cruz. I met him once about 10 years ago when at an event, and he was going down the line and I shook his hand. So I know people in his office, but I'm not a personal friend. Also, and while I may tend to vote for Republican candidates, I haven't been involved in a political party in about 30 years. I'm really not a political person. In fact, the mayor's job for my town in Texas, like a lot of towns, is not a partisan position. Nobody knows what party. It's a small town, and we fix roads and schedule parades and things like that. So just wanted to clarify those things. I'm not a politician. I have a little family construction company that for my livelihood. I am not beholden to any political party here or there. I'm an independent voice, and I just wanted to make sure that that's established.
He first of all had to address some misconceptions and some things that he believed were lies that are being told against him. First of all, I am not a current seated mayor of Blanco in Texas. In other words, calling me a mayor and letting the whole world look at me as if I am a seated current mayor is a lie. I am not. I stopped being a mayor a few months ago. He had to address that neatly. Apparently, they've been going around the whole place telling everybody that this guy is Ted Cruz's friend, that he was a Republican this and that, a Trump party guy and blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, no, Ted Cruz, I met him only once and we shook hands and that was it. I'm not beholden to any political party. I'm not even a politician. I'm just a guy doing my business. I'm here in my own capacity as an independent. He had to clear that. So that explains his body language when that guy who is affiliated with the Nigerian government was talking.
When all of this information about a Christian genocide in Nigeria began, actually the first mention of that started on September 26th. And I just reached out because the feeling back home is that it was an agenda against Nigeria, it was propaganda against Nigeria, it was to undermine Nigeria. But I just felt that the people who were saying these things, they meant well, and the reason why they were saying it is because they did not have the right information.
You heard what he said, that a lot of people believed that the reason why the international community is having such a massive outcry, coordinated outcry against Christian genocide in Nigeria was because they wanted to undermine the presidency. And this is basically what is reigning all over Nigeria. even so-called activists, so-called influencers are beginning to buy into that, and they are promoting it, saying, oh, this is Zionist related. Oh, this is American government trying to meddle in the affairs of Nigeria. Oh, they want to bring boots on ground because of what happened during the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. We know what happened during the Bring Back Our Girls thing. The difference between that and now is at that time, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was fighting Boko Haram to a standstill. He was literally looking for weapons from everywhere. He went to America. Obama's America refused to give him weapons. He even went to Israel. Obama administration made sure that the people they went to meet in Israel didn't sell weapons to them. So he was trying to handicap the guy and still blaming him for Boko Haram attack. Meanwhile, that was the only regime since Boko Haram was born, since they showed up in Nigeria, the only regime that ever fought Boko Haram to a standstill. They unleashed their dogs, their mainstream media dogs showed up in Nigeria. BBC, CNN, all of them showed up in the north, began to claim erroneously that the president was killing innocent people. Meanwhile, he was actually bombing and killing Boko Haram. And that was when we knew that the globalists, the deep state, was at war with the regime then in Nigeria, which was Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's regime. That was why we said, no, you are using Bring Back Our Girls to come and put boots on ground, because they were planning to bring African boots. And many African countries were wary of having African boots on ground. They said, no, Nigeria has one of the biggest and strongest militaries in Africa. Why would you bring your boots on ground, 100 and something personnel from the U.S. Army, because of 100 and something girls that were kidnapped, or whatever number of girls that were kidnapped? No, we can handle that. Just give us the weapons we need, and we will go after these guys. We will kill them. We will get the girls back. We will do this, do that. So people basically felt that the whole Bring Back Our Girl thing, the whole kidnap thing that happened, was an American inspired or at least supported operation. In this case, that's what all these baby activists who don't know what intelligence research is about, that's what they thought was happening, because they say the Nigerian vice president went to United Nations and spoke up for Palestine. So that was why Israel got angry and now decided, okay, we're going to show you, we're going to now expose you, blah, 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 blah. And this was going on all over Nigeria. And I'm like to these guys, look, even if this is the situation, even if Israel has now said, okay, I'm going to go with my ally America to expose you, what they are exposing, is it a lie? And these guys are not even talking about bringing boots on ground in Nigeria. They're saying, let Nigeria be designated, so that gives US the opportunity to begin to administer sanctions and begin to place a bunch of limitations in the path of Nigeria accessing certain military grade weaponry from the United States of America, because US is an ally of Nigeria. This is what they want to do. But these people are comparing it to what happened before. How can you compare it to what happened under Jonathan, when this particular administration in Nigeria has not made any effort at actually killing the terrorists? Rather, what we see all over the place is that the evil program they started, they call Repentant Boko Haram, has continued under this administration. We have now seen that thing has even gotten to another level, where terrorists that are fully armed with RPGs, AK-47s, and all manner of military-grade weaponry, that they are being invited to a peace talk with the government of the day. Are you kidding me? They are parading their weapons. They had one peace talk some time ago somewhere in the north. Just a week after that or two, they now had another massive one in Katsina, where hundreds of terrorists, fully armed, majestically rode into a center to have peace talks with the regime elements. How can you say that this is the same thing that happened when President Jonathan was in power? This is what has confused a lot of Nigerians. And because of that, they began to deny that there is Christian genocide in Nigeria. Even people who claim to be Christians.
This is my 16th trip to Nigeria. My first was in 2010, and I was accompanied a fellow who became my papa, my mentor, Professor John Ofebu. He lived in the United States, but he was a very proud Nigerian. He loved this country. He gave his life for this country. And in fact, this will shock most Nigerians. He was offered U.S. citizenship on multiple occasions, and he always turned it down. I don't know any Nigerians that would do that. I know people that would kill for that, but to turn it down because he didn't want any split loyalties. He lived and he passed away about 11 years ago as a proud Nigerian. We crisscrossed this country over several years together, and I grew to love the country too, and the people, and have great hope for it. I consider this my second home.
Mike Arnold mentioned a man. He said his name is Professor John Ofuebu. I'm sure he's talking about Professor John Ofuebu, an Igbo man, who became his mentor, became his father. He said this is the man he accompanied to Nigeria on his first trip, and he has gone to so many places in Nigeria. This man loved Nigeria so much, the Igbo man, that they offered him U.S. citizenship multiple times. He rejected it. But look who is sitting beside Mike Arnold. This guy is known to almost every Igbo person alive as probably the worst enemy of the Igbo nation, who has on multiple occasions, using his social media handles, advocated and incited, subliminally incited violence against Igbo people. But look who you brought to come and do your dirty dealings in Nigeria. A guy who has an Igbo man, or had an Igbo man as his mentor.
When I was invited on this, I sent a message. I said, what is expected of me? And the answer was, message back, just tell the truth. And so that's what I'm here to do. It's not an easy thing. I told my host that probably lose some friends today. It's a formal statement on widespread violence and displacement in Nigeria. One of the contributors that's listed is U.S. Ambassador Louis Luck. Spent considerable time, and he's done a lot of work. He was an ambassador to Swaziland. He was also the number one person in charge of rebuilding Iraq after the war, number one guy in charge of rebuilding Haiti after the earthquake, and former board member of the World Food Program. So he has stature. He's put his name on here. There are other experts that value the privacy in this day of social media, but if any journalist wants to dig deeper, I'd be happy to make personal connections with any of my sources. So you can, if you don't trust me, maybe you can do your own digging. That's what I encourage everybody to do. Don't ever take anybody's word for anything.
Mike is trying to let everybody understand that what he's about to read to the press in Nigeria is not something that he just grabbed in the air, or something he just made up, or something he wrote out of sheer sentimentalism. He's giving you names. He's telling you that a former U.S. ambassador to Swaziland, somebody who helped to rebuild Iraq after the Iraq War, and Haiti after the earthquake, a very prominent guy of worth, decided to put his name. This is one of the many prominent people he had interviewed. This is how you do proper research. Not hearsay, not AI generated, not grok. This is proper one. He met with them. And this man, apart from the other ones who decided that they didn't want their names to be out in the open, and he said, if you want to talk to those ones, I can reach out to them and make you go see them so you can hear directly from them, including 2 former presidents of Nigeria, which he's going to mention much later. He's saying, these guys are credible, so when I read out what I'm about to read out to you, you need to understand that these are coming from credible sources, and not just from those sources. I myself have been personally involved in this.
I was personally invited here today by Reno Omokri, and I got a call last Sunday morning, unexpected, from Reno Omokri. He was on the line with the National Security Advisor. Invited me to on this fact-finding trip and to come give a report. The sole stated written charge given to me for this trip is simply to meet certain key people and then declare the truth. I know what's at stake and take this very seriously.
You heard Mike saying, this is who invited me here. And he was standing right there with the National Security Advisor of Nigeria, Ribadu, when the phone call was put across to him. And they told him to come to Nigeria on a fact-finding mission. Just so we are clear, on that particular fact. They invited him to Nigeria to come and find facts, and he has found the fact. And it's unfortunate that the facts that he has found, everyone is making serious effort to sweep it under the carpet. Let's proceed.
This statement is my formal account and analysis of facts, findings, and first-hand documentation of widespread claims of widespread violence, displacement, and atrocity crimes in Nigeria, primarily directed against Christian populations in the North and Middle Belt claims, and whether this rises to the level of genocide. I've interviewed governors, cabinet ministers, traditional rulers, 2 former presidents of high standing, and others. I have met orphans whose parents were hacked to death. I've helped them. I've built schools in internally displaced persons, IDP camps, and documented over 80 hours of filmed testimony and evidence at great personal risk, soon to be released on our documentary film, Me and Miss Hannah. My findings carry the weight of direct personal experience. Nigeria in 2010, a nation at peace. In 2010, Nigeria was a beacon of rising prosperity and religious tolerance, often cited as the only country where radical Islam was being pushed back. Attacks were rare and sparked national outrage. Recognized IDPs were effectively zero, with only minimal displacement from localized communal conflicts. A stark contrast to the crisis that followed, marked by a 1,200% surge in IDPs the very next year, 2011, due to Boko Haram's escalation. The prior absence of displacement crisis is both verifiable and damning, because today there's not an accurate count, because I know we have schools and camps that the governments of the world, including Nigerian government, deny exist. So the quoted figures of 3 to 4 million internally displaced people is clearly low. And I've heard numbers as many as, in fact, the first time we talked, you said 9 million.
This can make your heart literally stop. He's saying exactly what I said earlier. The 2010 Nigeria, there were 0 ID camps anywhere in the country. Nigeria became the only country that was effectively eliminating terrorists, which is what I told you about the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan regime, because he came to power at 2010. But then Boko Haram showed up the very next year, and the man is telling you that the rise in IDPs went 1,200%. You gotta be kidding me. And he said these are documented. Boko Haram started functioning in 2011, I believe, and was officially declared a terrorist organization in 2013. Can you imagine that? And by 2015, Buhari came to power. Boom, few months after he came to power, they launched the Repentant Boko Haram program. And he's telling you that all that 3 to 4 million people in refugee camps is completely understated. He said there are way more. And now he turned to this character, this Reno guy, and said, remember the first time we spoke? Because this person, as so many people have now proven, used to speak up against Christian genocide until he showed his loyalty to this regime. So he turned to him and said, remember the first time we spoke? You told me 9 million. 9 million. Can you imagine when that was? And today, they are making the whole world believe that from 9 million, it has gone down to 3 to 4 million when the situation had gotten worse. I don't understand how that works. What kind of math is that? Let's go forward.
What has changed since then? By 2014, Nigeria's stability was shattered. Foreign meddling, including U.S. involvement, played a pivotal role in the 2015 election, enabling regime change that emboldened actors who ignored or enabled extremist violence. High-placed eyewitness testimony confirms this interference, with firms like Cambridge Analytica further skewing the political landscape. Radical jihadist elements fueled by foreign fighters from Libya and Sahel, post-2011 Arab Spring, many who say were invited, not invaded at that stage, flooded into Nigeria, amplifying Boko Haram and ISWAP. Today, over 4 million Nigerians are displaced, very conservative estimate.
So here, I need you to please pay a personal experience with 2014. He talks about U.S. meddling. That was Obama's regime. Meddling, how did they meddle? In the election that brought President Muhammadu Buhari late to power. I've written about this so many times. Obama sent his campaign manager, David Plouffe, and David Axelrod's organization, and they showed up in Nigeria to midwife the All Progressives Congress, the party APC that brought Buhari to power. When they showed up in Nigeria, they were so confident and knew people who came with them on that trip in Nigeria. I know that this is a massive policy shift that is about to happen in Nigeria. I know that the plan, according to some of them, was to institute a one-party state that will have some type of policy that is alien to the secular structure of Nigeria. And that's what we are witnessing today. They didn't have any plans that when the party got to power, that it was ever going to leave power again. If you see the campaign they ran, it was incredible. I knew everything that was going on. I knew that Nigeria was at a turning point. This is what he's talking about, meddling. They were about to remove the president, the only president who was clearly fighting Boko Haram, the only president who was evidently beating them to their games. They vowed that this one will be removed, and they removed him from power. That's the meddling that this guy is talking about. That's why many of us look at APC as a direct offshoot of the Democrat Party of America, which Obama almost single-handedly controls till this day. This is what Mike Arnold is talking about. The meddling that removed a president that fought against Boko Haram and brought the one that christened and consolidated the hold of Boko Haram and terrorism on Nigeria. Let's go forward.
I'm going to pause there for 1 second to make this point, because it's very clear that Nigerians understand this. We did a groundbreaking for a school at an IDP camp 2 years ago, and several journalists came and wrote articles about it. And my remarks were, and the whole purpose of this, what we do is we build camps and schools and IDP camps, and that was the whole purpose of this. The news reports said that we build schools in rural communities. Took out the whole idea of IDPs. If reality, if truth is the only way for unity, and truth is the only thing sustainable, the Nigerian media, at least the ones in my experience, I don't know where they get off changing my words to sterilize it. But if you work for a paper and you're guilty of that, you're not a journalist, you're a propagandist, and it's for shame. Your job is to speak the truth. Nigeria cannot heal, it cannot advance, it cannot succeed if the people of this country rely on your words to understand the truth and you're lying to them. Sorry, we got a little bit off track, but that's reality, okay? This is too important. Don't change my words.
You can tell how visibly angry the guy became immediately. He says, Nigerian journalists are not journalists, but propagandists. If they're not going to tell people the truth, if they're going to change and twist words to fit the talking points of the government of the day that pays them with brown envelopes, to fit the narrative of the government of the day. He invited you people to say, hey, we have built all these schools in IDP camps, and you guys went and reported, oh, he did just build schools in the villages. Because if they said that such number of schools were built in IDP camps, people are going to begin to get the idea of, whoa, how many people are really in these IDP camps to require this number of schools to be built for them? That would have given people the idea, the picture of how many people we actually are dealing with in our IDP camps, which would have smashed the narrative, the official narrative, smashed it against the stone. That's why we believe that Nigerian journalists, even up until this very minute, are pure propagandists, hungry propagandists. None of them is ready to take anything to do proper journalism. That's why Nigerians are turning on to baby activists and influencers and mentors. Liars, bloody liars who know absolutely nothing, and they call them mentors. So whatever garbage they feed them, they swallow it. It's sad because the same lying journalists promote these so-called activists and influencers, which is why the Nigerian people, ignorant, messed up with lies, get to follow them. Someone shows up out of the blues, and all of a sudden, boom, he's an influencer. He's a mentor. Everything he says is true. Whatever I hear from him, that's the one I take. This character that has just been exposed now, before now, there was most of his followers couldn't believe that anything he said was a lie. You couldn't even challenge it. The journalists in Nigeria, the propagandists in Nigeria helped to promote these people. They helped to build these monsters.
The vast majority of the IDPs are Christians, driven from their homes by deliberate political engineering and radical conquest, while mostly Muslim IDP camps do exist. One of our schools serves an entirely Muslim population, several hundred children. Our team's fieldwork, since 2019, our team has conducted relentless frontline research at great personal risk. We've interviewed survivors across multiple states. We've operated schools in 2 IDP camps for both Christians and Muslims, with a 3rd under construction, with a present total of 550 students. We provide free, high-quality education, and we get to hear their stories and their parents' stories. First-hand eyewitnesses. We filmed camps the UN and Nigerian government deny exist. I can take you to them.
I want to start from the last statement he made. They filmed camps that the United Nations and the Nigerian government denied exist. So the Nigerian government had gotten to the point where they are able to connive with the United Nations to present a narrative for the international community to make everybody go to bed and sleep. They forget about all that claim about Christian genocide in Nigeria. It's not happening. Imagine when you hear that from the government of the day, and then you hear it from the United Nations. UN and government of Nigeria claim these camps don't exist, and he's telling you they have filmed at these camps and have the evidence. So you know exactly how well funded, well organized, well orchestrated, well planned this genocidal mission, merchandise genocidal mission really is. And it explains, like I've said in most of my posts, nobody is saying that Muslims aren't getting killed. Most people say most of those Muslim killings are actually collateral damages. Because you don't go and see terrorists on a mission on a Sunday going after mosques. Look at the figures. Look at the people who died the most. Look at the patterns. Look at it. This is pure truth that must be accepted by everyone. As the man said, in 2010, before this whole Boko Haram thing happened, Nigerians never had any issues living with their Christian brothers or Muslim brothers. Fulani people, since I was growing up in Nigeria, Fulani men have always roamed our bushes and our forests. Some of them even learned our languages. I've always known them. You've never had issues, never had that there was crisis between a farmer or Fulani man or anything. They always knew where to go. They always knew how to avoid farms. What changed all of a sudden? Because there's a plan to eliminate Christians. That's why they take over homes, farmlands and homelands belonging to these Christians. And the Christians end up in IGP camp and they never return to their homes. Let the government tell people how many times they have emptied an IGP and sent the people that were kicked out of their homelands back to those homelands. Let them explain that. This is what Mike Arnold is talking about. UN and the government deny they exist, but they know they exist. Let's go forward.
Proof exposes a reality ignored by officials. Many people of Gwoza have been refugees in Cameroon for over a decade, abandoned by Nigeria, while those who return languish in the FCT, their homelands occupied by Boko Haram as the seat of its caliphate for years now. Consistent pattern of destruction. Across regions and years, we've documented a chilling pattern. Churches destroyed. In Gwoza, when they came in, and in Goshe, all 6 churches were burned, no mosques were burned. Christian homes torched, jihadists resettled in captured lands. Authorities deny or excuse the attacks, while some Muslims resisting extremism are targeted. Absolutely. The peaceful Muslims are targeted. The overwhelming evidence, thousands of churches raised, obviously selective violence, leads some to claim this is a faith-based genocide against Christians and those rejecting radical Islam. That's what some claim. We recorded numerous IDP testimonials. We have at the YouTube channel, My Voice Matters. with first-hand eyewitness testimonials. In late 2024, my team visited and filmed in Goshe, in Gwoza, LGA, Borno State, a once thriving Christian farming community, now a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Recent 2025 attacks confirm ongoing devastation, with surviving Christians combined to militarized zones, relieving risks abduction or execution. Another aside, I wasn't, of course, able to go there, but the team that did connected with a small group there that have a small church that's in the protected zone. And it was not long afterwards we got sent roundabout a Boko Haram video with members of this church having their heads cut off with dull axes.
I just hope that someone is paying attention. Mike is saying the ones they filmed, they had a place where members of the churches have their heads cut off with dull axe. So imagine an axe that is dull, meaning that you get crushed. The person gets crushed before they are even decapitated. It's not like it's a sharp one where you hit once and you cut off the head. No, it's a blunt one where they have to crush everything before they now painfully sever the head of these Christians. And it's not one person, multiple Christians. We ourselves have seen videos in the past, multiples of videos, where they will go into a church and kill these Christians and then put on their choir clothing and then dance over their dead bodies, mocking their God and their faith. We've seen countless of those. And someone has the effrontery to stand up and deny that there is genocide against Christians in Nigeria.
What drives this violence? This has come from the highest level and the deepest research. And there's three primary drivers. It's not chaos, but it's calculated. One, radical, I think we all would refute and repudiate, but radical Islamic conquest. Armed groups, bolstered by foreign fighters from Libya, Sahel, post-Arab Spring, seek to impose extremist ideology with local enablers and political protection described by eyewitnesses as jihad by occupation. Blood mineral extraction. A former president is the one that pointed me in this direction. Nigeria, according to the government's estimates, which in my humble opinion are probably way low, Nigeria loses $9 billion annually to illicit mining of gold, tin, and lithium. Oftentimes these communities that are wiped out, you go back not long after and there's mounds of dirt from strip mining. $9 billion a year. And again, the government's estimates, with a significant portion estimated to be 10% funding violence and corruption. That's $900 million a year, at least, that's funding the violence and corruption that does this. War often masquerades as politics. Local government areas overrun, electoral districts redrawn by force, militants resettled, and each given 4 abducted wives to skew demographics, dismantling communities deemed inconvenient. This is fully documented. It shouldn't be debated. I'm just going to go where the facts led me. There's a euphemism of farmer-herder clashes. Yes, those have happened for generations. The term farmer-herder clashes is, in many instances today, is cynical doublespeak, weaponizing historical land disputes to mask jihadist conquest. For centuries, herders and farmers coexisted with very rarely lethal disputes. Now, villages are systematically razed, churches leveled, and tens of thousands are dead. This is a systematic terror and not grazing conflicts. A lie akin to calling Bosnia's ethnic cleansing a neighborhood spat. These targeted deadly attacks are the same whether labeled herders, bandits, or insurgents. The puppets may change, but the same forces pull the strings. A jihadi by any other name is just as deadly.
Mike is saying something very critical. He said there are euphemisms where people say, oh, it's farmer-herder crisis going on in Nigeria. First of all, he started with what is driving this. And he talked about how the minerals and all kinds of stuff. But then he ended up with the fact that this is premeditated, calculated, extremist kind of subjugation of another group. Now he says the euphemism that this is a farmer-herder crisis is completely false. Why did I stop there? In 2019, right before Nigeria was first proscribed, and that proscription of Nigeria was the first time in the history of Nigeria that it was being proscribed by any other nation or organization. And the person who did it was President Donald J. Trump, which is what I was talking about much earlier, where Trump looked Buhari in the face and said, why are you killing Christians? Before that proscription, Osinbajo was invited to Washington, D.C. and had meetings with Mike Pence, the then VP of America. And at the meetings, Osinbajo reportedly told him that there was no such thing as Christian genocide in Nigeria, that it was just mere farmer-herder crisis going on in Nigeria.
So you find that the farmer-herder clashes is one distinct form of security challenges that we have, and we've had that in the North Central, where in Benue and Benue, Taraba to a certain extent also. But that's a very peculiar type of situation, and essentially it's a resource conflict. Sometimes people want to create the narrative that it's a religious conflict, but anyone who understands this well and who's not trying to be mischievous will understand first and foremost that it's a resource challenge, and that it has been so for several years.
Our guys even brought people from Nigeria to come and testify physically to what was going on. And when the Americans saw the proof, when the Americans saw what was going on, incontrovertible evidence of what was happening, they didn't want to hear from the Nigerian government anymore. They just took their action and proscribed Nigeria. And the moment that happened, everything began to pipe down little by little.
Back in 2017, the Trump administration designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, which came with sanctions. Well, when the Biden administration came along, Anthony Blinken lifted that designation. He said these murders were being committed because of climate change.
Remember, Biden was a Democrat president. And remember everything I have told you about the Democrat Party midwifing APC in Nigeria. Now look at this. The moment Biden came to power, he was not even up to 1 year old in his presidency. Biden moved very quickly to remove the designation that Trump had placed on Nigeria because of Nigeria's history of persecution of Christians. So when we tell you that there's a connection between the DNC in America and the APC in Nigeria, you know we are not kidding. That same designation is what all these senators are asking for in this time. And people are saying that it's a Zionist attempt to undermine the government of Nigeria. That's happened before. Let's look at what else Mike says.
So let's get to the conclusion, because this is where it's important, because there is a legal definition of genocide. That's the question here. And it's not a vague thing. You don't want it to, you don't want it to be or not to be. And I did not start with my conclusion. I started with the evidence. Per Article 2 of the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948, genocide includes acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. It includes killing members of the group, causing seriously bodily or mental harm, inflicting conditions to bring about physical destruction, preventing births within the group, forcibly transferring children to another group. This is the legal, international, understanding definition of genocide. The evidence is undeniable. Targeted killings, mass displacement, destruction of homes and churches, denial of aid, and erasure of Christian identity. My conclusion, my formal findings, an objective expert and eyewitness, a longtime lover and traveler throughout Nigeria with access at the highest levels, based on more than 5 years of investigation, field interviews, first-hand documentation, and deep consultation with top scholars, statesmen, and legal experts, and I'm happy to introduce you to all of that. And this document has more than 15 citations. I declare this without any shadow of a doubt. The campaign of violence and displacement in northern and middle belt Nigeria does indeed constitute a calculated, current, and long-running genocide against Christian communities and other religious minorities without any reasonable doubt. To continue to deny this is to be complicit with these atrocities. I say this not in anger, but in truth and grief. My stated assignment from my host was to speak the truth, and I have done that to the best of my ability. I believe Nigeria has a bright future. I believe in Christian-Muslim harmony. I believe good people of every tribe and faith and party must stand against this evil, but first we must name it. Here I stand. I can do no other, so help me God.
You can see how his voice was quaking. He's speaking from a place of pain and anguish at what he had witnessed. He says his report has 15 citations, 15 former presidents spoken to, people on ground spoken to. He'd been there physically. He has a documentary coming up very soon. He was there live and saw over the years. And he says unequivocally, without any shadow of a doubt, that what is happening is calculated genocide against Christians. This is the person they flew into Nigeria to come and help them change the narrative, because the lies have been dished out to Nigerians already. And the Nigerians, who most of the time act like they are under a very terrible diabolic spell, had already bought into the lies. And people like me are now having to overwork ourselves. Like, you know, when a generator is carrying excess load, a generator that is supposed to carry just about a TV and a refrigerator, you have connected 10 homes with ACs and everything. It's just doing blah, blah, blah. This is what I have been doing, trying to get the word out, so that people will see that this plan is not only for Nigeria, it is meant to go around the whole of Africa. These people are locating their operations in places where there are precious minerals, where there are lithium, tin, gold, all kinds of stuff. And now when they chase all those people away, they mine these things, sell them cheap, and they fund their operation. They also have their agents, I believe, who are probably having access to the oil money of Nigeria. So you can imagine, for them to spread their campaign to the rest of Africa, it will cost and take them nothing. The moment they succeed in Nigeria, conquer the whole of the north, north central, get into the southwest, and then probably want to make a move into the east. Or even if they say, oh, we are done now, we've conquered the southwest, let's just hold this one, which I believe they will never do. They will want to continue moving because it's moving so smoothly. Nobody's talking about what they're doing anymore. Nigerians have now become so docile. So they will probably want to conquer everywhere. The moment that happens, they will now launch in the next African country. Ghana will probably be the next one. And then when they are done with West, they will go to East. They will go to South. They will go around the whole place. It's a campaign that is structured to last for a very long time. And people are treating it with kid gloves. It is a shame. That's why I got very angry with the Christian Association of Nigeria. How can you claim to be the Christian Association of Nigeria and you guys are filled with cowards, preachers who will vibrate on the pulpit every Sunday? Our preachers do a good job by helping people feel good. You know, they speak to you from the scripture, encourage people. There's so many good things that preachers do. But go and read your Bible very well. You will know that Christians and churches are meant to be the major transformational agents in every society where they are located. Churches are meant to raise lions who will fight against injustice. I made a post on my X handle and I was asking, the Bible tells us that Christ is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. How is it that the lion who is supposed to give birth to lions and lionesses has given birth to chickens and sheep? Meh. That's how Nigerian Christians have become. They can't talk. Can a lion give birth to chicken? No. This is what we have become. Quiet, silent, pray. Let us pray for Nigeria. Let us pray. Nigeria will be fine. Will be fine. But look at the campaign. One man, his heart is filled with pain, has been documenting for over 10 years. Meet one Nigerian church today who has documented 1/10, 1/100 of what has happened to Christians in Nigeria. They don't have any record. Who do you think God is looking up to as his child? It is the one who may not even have stepped into any church, but is doing the Lord's work, fighting against injustice. We need to repent. This chase after money in our churches has become too much. It has become a distraction. Apart from Issa El-Buba, who has refused to cower, who has refused to give in, I don't see anyone else. I don't see any other person. But we have Baba GOs and all manner of big pastors. When they raise money here, you will think it's for nations. What are we doing with these monies? Our Christian communities are being incapacitated. They are being eliminated. They are being herded into all manner of IDP camps where they will stay forever. They never get to go home. You know what? The homes they've lost have been renamed, taken over. And the soldier just showed up recently to say that even the military commanders they have were helping to resettle the invading criminal genocidal murderers who took over villages from Christians. They were helping them to settle down, building schools for them, digging boreholes for the herdsmen who came to kill and take over people's village, helping them to resettle down. Oh, welcome to your new home. Invading foreigners. Not enough that we are allowing them to go through a program that we claim is repentant Boko Haram program. We are now resettling. Borno State said that they have resettled about 300,000 repentant Boko Haram. Many of them are from outside Nigeria. And they are told that they can enter into the society, become anything. In fact, some of them I'm sure may even have joined politics. They are told that they can even be presidents in Nigeria. So some of them probably are in the army, in the police, because they are allowed to just be like every other citizen. Fighters who have killed, maimed, amputated, decapitated, raped, disemboweled pregnant women who are still doing it, come out and go through one so-called program and they say, oh, we have just repented and that's it. Ha, Nigeria, who did this to you? Who did this to you? Look at an American crying for you. Even AI Grok was saying, why is it that Nigerians are not that Nigerians need to also raise their voices to match the international campaign against Christian genocide in Nigeria? But we're not hearing from them. All that Khan was willing to tell us was that, this thing actually is not like that. You can't say there's Christian genocide. Muslims are also being killed. Has anyone ever said that Muslims don't get killed? But we are pointing at the actual reality, the truth. Is that there is an ongoing Christian genocide in Nigeria. And I think that the rest of Africa, apart from the United States of America that is trying to help Nigeria today, let all leaders in Africa join together to combat this menace. Because this one is like a dangerous stage 5 or stage 4 cancer that if it's allowed to spread, I don't think Africa will ever recover from it. The best time to nip it in the bud is now. That these senators have taken it upon themselves to end it. And I hope that after this, that our people will wake up from their slumber and accept the truth and begin to draw up plans on how to protect Christians in Nigeria. If it means redrawing our maps, let us do it, so be it. If it means putting measures in place in partnership with some very strong international organizations, let us do it. Whatever it takes, action is needed. And now, see, there's no need to deny again. Imagine if I was the one. If I was even the one who was going to bring people to Nigeria, I wouldn't be bringing a former mayor. I have access to senators and House of Rep members directly. I can bring them into Nigeria to come and see. But now they are the ones who brought. And Mike is a wonderful soul, a powerful American. You can tell that American spirit in him. He couldn't just take the nonsense. He had to speak up because they know the pain they've been feeling. Wake up, Nigerians. Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The hour has come. The die is cast. And the time is now.
Hello, my wonderful people. As we have finished watching this interesting video, please, I want to see your comment, your contribution, your opinion in the comment section. Like I said earlier, let us do it constructively. Tell me what you think about this video that you have just watched, and also about the platform. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please remember to subscribe, put on your notification bell, share this video, and remain blessed.